message for a new direction for Maine and a new direction for this country. I also want to thank Wilco, Billy Bragg, and Woody Guthrie for the great song. In 1972, I was 19 years old as a freshman in college. And President Nixon mined the harbor in Haiphong. I went to Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. And with 50 of my classmates, we went and sat down on the largest street in Tallahassee and said we weren't going to leave until we ended the war in Vietnam. We were arrested and charged with disorderly conduct, and I spent the night in jail. And I think it's time for us as Democrats to go sit in the street and not leave. In this country that brings about fundamental change. My son Travis, 2 years after he graduated from college, he had a job that didn't provide any health care. He went to Anthem and he said, "What type of policy can you give me? I don't have a lot of money." They said, "We can give you a policy, $200 a month. And it has a $10,000 deductible."
Wow.
So for the whole year, he paid $200 a month, $2,400 over the year. And during that time, my wife and I would say to him, "Travis, you should go to the doctor because you have an ear infection. Your back is hurting you." And he said, "Mom, Dad, I can't afford to do it." And at the end of that year, he had paid $2,400 in premium and not gotten $1 of health insurance coverage. Before we leave here tonight, there will be another 5 people in this country who die simply because they don't have health insurance. There are 48 million people in this country without health insurance. We need to have a national single-payer health system that provides health insurance for everybody in this country. Sit in the street in Washington and in Maine and across the country until we have it. When it was time for me to go to college, my parents had not saved any money for me. I grew up in a working class Irish Catholic family. We had 5 children, and all our money actually went to send us to parochial school, and there wasn't much left over for college. But I was able to go to college with government loan, and because I had a good paying union job with the AFL-CIO. But now, parents can't afford to send their children to college. The cost of education, tuition in this country has gone up 385% in the last 20 years, double the cost of health care. That's why I've proposed a national block grant, a college tuition program that would provide free tuition for all students in Maine and across the country to go to public universities and public colleges. But the first thing we need to do in Washington is repeal No Child Left Behind. And we need to put education back in the hands of teachers, not in the hands of test makers. We used to lead the world in the number of people that graduated from high school and went on to 4-year degrees. Now we're not even in the top 10. And I'm going to go to Washington and make sure that every student in this country has an opportunity for early childhood education, K through 12 education, higher education, and we're going to sit in the street until we get that. One of the very first things that Ronald Reagan did when he was elected president was take the solar panels off the White House that Jimmy Carter had put up. Those solar panels are now at Unity College in Unity, Maine, still working. And I want to make sure that we elect a president in November. Then January of 2009, we'll put those solar panels back up on the White House. We'll put solar panels on buildings across this state and across this country, and we're going to pay for it with a windfall profit tax on the oil company.
Yeah!
Renewable energy is the way of the future, and we are uniquely situated in Maine to address that issue and take advantage of wind, solar, and tidal. And I'm very confident in our future to embrace that in the state of Maine. I also want to make a solemn commitment to each one of you here tonight that I will stand with you, I will sit with you anywhere, in any street in Maine, any street in Washington, the halls of the White House and the halls of Congress to bring an end to the war in Iraq and bring peace around the world. We have spent $550 billion on the war in Iraq and not invested in health care, not invested in education, not invested in renewable energy. We need to end the war now, and we need to bring troops home immediately. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm also a teacher. And I've worked with people who have mental illness, substance abuse, and have been homeless. And I understand change at the personal level, and I understand change at the government level. But change in and of itself has to be accompanied with a vision of what you want to be, what we want to be. And this election in 2008 is about what we want to be as a state, what we want to be as a country, and what we want to be as a Democratic Party. And in 2003, I chaired the Joint Select Committee on Healthcare Reform that created Derigo Health. Now, thank you. A lot of people have told me not to talk about Derigo Health because they say it hasn't worked, and they're wrong. We're the first state in the country that made a commitment to universal health care. Because we said, if anybody in this state has health insurance, everybody in this state should have health insurance. And that's why I'm a Democrat, and that's what the Democratic Party is about, is saying, we are a community, and when one person in our community struggles, we reach out and we help. And that's what Derigo Health was about, as a state and as a country, state and as a party stepping forward and saying, nobody will be left behind. You know, there are a lot of people in this race that have talked about going to Washington to fight. I want to go to Washington and lead. And leadership means having a vision, having principles. But it means working with other people to develop a common dream that everybody can work with, work around, be part of, and that provides a vision for how we move forward as a future. And what I bring to this race, unique to everybody else in the race, is providing that leadership, that common dream that will allow us to get health care, allow us to educate our people, and allow us to end the war in Iraq. And lastly, the theme of our campaign was taken from a quote that Al Gore used when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And he said, if you want to move forward quickly, you go by yourself. But if you want to go a long way, you go with other people. And my campaign has not been about advancing my political career. It's about working with you and everybody else in the 1st District to make sure that we as a state and we as a country go a long way. Thank you very much.